Hi everyone, I just finished the second day of the AILA Paralegal Conference. I was able to meet a lot of people, including the speakers, some of the vendors, and then other paralegals that were in attendance from all over the US. After being there for 2 days, I basically came up with 17 suggestions, and we'll see how many get approved. So the first suggestion is coming up with core company values and principles and then implementing them into a company handbook.
Yes, so important because we can't just say we want growth as a mission statement, right? A core value also entails what are you willing to sacrifice for that core value. One of the core values that we have is in innovation. So we have to be willing to say no to certain clients, to certain cases, certain case types. We have to value innovation. So yes, getting core values, writing it down, and then explicitly stating out what that means in a handbook so everybody can see, all really, really important.
So number 2 has to do with communicating with clients. So it's basically establishing clear communication channels and determining how the client prefers to communicate instead of communicating with them in the way that we prefer.
I think having that conversation is important, which we don't. We just kind of assume. And I think the worst thing is the clients assume we like to communicate this way, and then we assume the client likes it, but then it's actually not the best way for either of us.
So the third one has to do, again, with setting up an initial 10 to 15 minute onboarding call with a paralegal.
I think that's really important, especially for bigger cases. A lot of times we do a Zoom call and we record everything, and so our team knows the client, but the client doesn't know our team. So what's really important is if we have a strategy meeting, actually doing a live Zoom call and introduce everybody.
So number 4 is moving to paperless filings. So we can start off easy with I-90s and N-400s, but we already know that this is a route that USCIS is taking, so we should get used to it, get our staff used to it, get our clients used to it, and start learning the ins and outs of that. What do you think?
We've been resisting that for like decades. Every single time USCIS creates something, we always stick with paperless, and we've been proven right in doing so in the past 10 years because the system would inevitably crash and then it goes back to paper. But I feel like this time is different. I feel like this time USCIS finally got it right, maybe from all the prior years of experience. So I am actually deciding that we're going to do it.
Number 5 has to do with creating a list of all of the different technology that we're using, not only so that everyone knows what it is, but they also have access to all of the logins and that we know how much we're currently paying for each system. And then that way, if there is any room to maybe use a different system, we kind of have it all in one place. What do you think?
Yes, we should do that. Right now, it's the IT person that's managing everything, but the IT person might not actually know how every single team functions and what they prefer. Allowing different teams share their resources, I think, is really important.
Okay, so number 7 is using ChatGPT, continuing to use it and use it more.
Yes, definitely. Use it instead of Google search. Use it instead of you thinking through and just keep on challenging ChatGPT to do it for you because we're smarter than ChatGPT, and so using that elevates our capabilities.
So number 8 is something that we're already doing as well, but I guess just having it more easily accessible, and that's the use of templates for straightforward cases.
Yes. Finding ways to use templates to make our process better. But obviously we chose not to do the template route years and years ago, but I think we might have gone overboard by not using templates, so finding that perfect medium is very important.
The next one is looking into a platform that collects documents or helps makes that process easier. What are your thoughts on that?
So Google Drive, almost everybody has. Dropbox, a lot of people have. And there's other platforms that does that as well, right? And there's other systems that makes it a little bit more complicated, but then it integrates into your forms, right? So we use e-immigration Serenade right now, and they also have that capability, but you know the space isn't that big, right?
Yeah.
And so we definitely could use Google Drive, Microsoft Teams, as well as OneDrive, as well as Dropbox. We could use that better because we already have all 3 of them.
So it sounds like we have the technology, we just have to use it better.
Right.
So this one's more of a general principle, but it's basically looking for ways as to how to manage your time better. They gave the example of the Eisenhower chart. It's the concept of like if there's something that's urgent, like a case, you do it right away. Then there's like the not urgent things that you can immediately discard. And then scheduling falls in the not urgent, but is important for more of some like long-term success. What are some ways that you think that we can manage our time better?
I think that learning how to be a good leader is the best way to manage your time. Everybody who's at the office all highly motivated. Everybody has a billion things that they're working on, and it's more than anyone can expect each other to do. And so these methods might help a junior hire manage time a little better, but most people who make it into our office, they are already masters at managing time, having high energy, pushing things through. If you can be a leader 5 years earlier, the amount of things that you'll be able to get done, the team that you're able to build to get things done is going to be exponential. So these techniques definitely important. Everybody should read a lot of self-help books, learn how to do it, but it's not going to work for everyone. So the trick is really being a good people person.
Number 11 is creating videos that will serve as training. What are your thoughts, and do you approve of that?
Yes, teach clients how to do certain things, teach our interns how to do certain things, and even teaching managers between each other. Like a lot of times our clients know more about case types than and the other managers who don't work on those type of cases.
Yeah.
So it's actually pretty interesting that we need to kind of elevate our own team.
So number 12 is attending these recruiting events in person. I think it would be fun for our office to develop like these tables with unique merchandise and actually talk to students, maybe have some of our interns attend as well.
So if it's to get more interns, we already have more than we can accept. But if it's to more like a marketing, get to know people, even though we can't accept everybody, but being there to encourage people, I think it's a good idea.
So number 13 specifically applies to citizenship, but I think it could probably apply to other cases as well. But basically the presenters gave out a list of all of the red flags that are present when it comes time for naturalization. So they have like this very in-depth meeting with the clients, but one of the attorneys actually makes them sign acknowledging that none of these are present. What do you think about that?
Having clients sign acknowledgement that what they're telling us is true is really, really important. We actually do that in our retainers. That everything that they're providing us, that they're saying is true. And so by signing the retainer, it automatically is embedded, opposed to having a separate form. Now, when we do spot a problem that's going to adversely affect the case, we actually create a separate acknowledgement, which we've worked on many, many times. It's like, we spotted this might be the consequence, and you're specific acknowledging that you still want us to move forward, right? But yes, I think these acknowledgements are really important.
So number 14 also applies more so for the citizenship process, but it's basically making it very clear to the clients once they become green card holders that they need to be responsible for listing all of their travel history. But it's basically enabling them to keep good records and then also putting it on that welcome letter that we currently have and making it more clear.
Yes, the system itself, USCIS, the I-94, your travel history, your in and out record should be a place that's, if it's that important, it should be easily accessible, but it isn't. And if you expect somebody to track it on their passport, that's insane, because people lose their passports expire, and now they don't even stamp the passport, and there's no formal system where you can pull it, and so it becomes even more impossible, right? You would think it gets easier and easier, but it's actually getting harder and harder. And when the government puts that burden on the individual, and the individual doesn't care for it, then it becomes the provider's responsibility, right? And so yes, it's technically not our responsibility, but the system created it, so it's as if it is our responsibility. And so that's where we just have to really clearly tell the client, because they didn't keep record, it's extra difficult for us. That's why we have to do a FOIA. That's why we have to track everything, right? That's just to be safe. So
this is just a small change, but it's possibly changing. I think our current document is called waiver of liability. One of the attorneys just mentioned how hers are called assumption of risk. So I think that we can possibly change it to assumption of risk. That way it doesn't seem like it's a document where we're just trying to like clear any liability and save ourselves. And then within that it could say release of liability. But so this is just in regards to the document title.
Our malpractice insurance provider requires us to send a waiver of liability document. So it's not really, a word choice on our end. It's our provider.
And then this goes back to the I-601 waivers. So we talked about it briefly, but again, making it a point to make them around 10 pages.
We are working towards that, right? I mean, it used to be 80. We've narrowed it down to 40, but there's just so much we want to say, right? And we've seen so many other cases get denied for being 5 pages, 10 pages, and it's just like, even if it's really well written, 5-10 pages, you just can't cover all the story that you want to. So we're working on it. We're going to continue to work on it. I know you're working on it, and I know you work on all the waiver cases, so it definitely makes a big difference going from 80 to 10. But yeah, whatever needs to get done, we'll get it done.
The last one is basically considering changing from our current immigration forms, which I won't name, and just considering other options. It doesn't mean that we have to ultimately make the move. And then also looking into, for example, Clio, not necessarily for the forms, but I did meet a paralegal and they use that for their calendar system. They use that for all of the case notes. They use it for billing, and it's also pretty nice because it automatically updates on the invoice. So again, it doesn't have to be that specific software, but I think there's still a lot of room to automate things and to make everything one as much as possible.
Yep. Definitely worth looking into. So Margaret, you are the first paralegal to come to an AILA conference like this. You suggested it, you found it. Seems like it was very rewarding for you. You enjoyed it a lot. What is your biggest takeaway? And would you encourage other paralegals at the firm to do it in the future?
Yeah, so I definitely had a few big takeaways. I learned a lot. There's just a lot of different cases that we don't currently do, so I learned a lot of specific information. And then I also realized that I do know a lot. I've been a paralegal for 4 years, so there's a lot of techniques that they gave where I was able to, in my head, just know that we do it differently or that we do it better or more efficiently. And also it was really cool just getting to meet so many paralegals. It kind of just opens up your eyes to different career options and where you can possibly go. I think sometimes like just doing the same thing or being in the law office and not knowing other ways, you don't have that much perspective. And also I think it just gives you a lot of motivation. There were current services that we don't offer. Personally, I learned about like the special immigrants, juvenile status, and I was interested in like possibly looking for organizations that I can volunteer with.
So how would AILA be able to do this paralegal conference better, in your opinion?
I think just more interactions among paralegals and then giving the paralegals more of an opportunity to share their personal experiences.
Awesome. Well, thank you for attending the AILA conference for us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for letting me go.